Hey, Crystal Maiden here, and this part I'm going to be going over the story of this game, or what little there is of it. Basically, there's this magical artifact called the Triforce. Now, in Zelda 1, there were only two pieces of the Triforce. The Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Power. Now, I refuse to believe that this was how it was originally supposed to be, because the concept of a Triforce that's shaped like a triangle, having only two parts to it, makes no fucking sense. So, they must have had it planned from the very beginning that there'd be three parts to it. But anyways, Warlock, his name is Ganon, he basically went after the Triforce that Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule, had in store. And she, using some magical powers, basically split apart the Triforce so that he wouldn't be able to get to them. And she was able to bring all of those fragments of the Triforce into, well, they're basically the golden triangles that we collect at the end of each dungeon. And they're guarded by Ganon's minions. I'm not really sure how exactly she managed to put all of them there without dying from dungeons. I'm also not entirely sure how she's able to magically warp all of the Triforce shards to the end of every single dungeon, and yet still isn't powerful enough to defend herself against Ganon, but whatever. Basically, she gets kidnapped, and Link has to save her. In fact, Impa is basically the nursemaid of Zelda. She's her caretaker. I guess because the King and Queen of Hyrule are too busy. And at the very start of the game, the plot tells us that we're supposed to... Oh god, I hate this item. The magic book, or the Bible as it was called in the original Japanese version of the game, it completely ruins the magic rod, because it makes it shoot fire that can hurt you. And again, some enemies are immune to fire. So, thanks for the downgrade. The only reason I got that item was to show it off, so that you could see how horrible it is. Skip it in every other playthrough. And it's annoying because this dungeon actually has two items. But this can cause you to think that there's actually that you've actually collected the only item there is. And so it can cause you to rush through the dungeon not searching everywhere. And so you miss out on the real item of the dungeon. And again, this place is mini-boss central. And there's also tons of blue dark nuts everywhere. It's pretty tough. On one of my playthroughs, I actually went in here first and got the magic key. And I was able to blast through the game not having to get any keys. The compass, as you can see, shows you where the boss is, but doesn't show you the map. So that's not really very helpful. Anyways, if this game was made a few years later, I'm sure it would have advanced enough technology to give us an opening cutscene where Link found Impa and she was about to be attacked by monsters, and then he saved her after getting the wooden sword. And it's then, according to the instruction manual, when she gives him the quest. But we never actually see any of this in the game. He just gets the sword, and he never saves Impa, and he just goes on an adventure right away. Makes you wonder, like, okay, if that Impa being in danger scene happened before the events of this game, then how did he manage to defeat those monsters without getting a sword first? Yeah. But you know, I kind of like this game for not having much of a story. You know, it doesn't actually have any cutscenes, and I like that because most Zelda cutscenes are unskippable, and it really hinders the replayability of a game when every time you play you have to sit through a cutscene. And take Wind Waker for example. I love that game, It's my childhood. But every time you play it, you have to sit through the cutscenes. You can't skip it at all. And the HD remake didn't fix that. It didn't even do the bare minimum of what you'd expect of a remake. That's another reason. That's one of the major reasons that... There's many reasons why I find that remake half-assed, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. And Twilight Princess was the first Zelda game to introduce the concept of skipping cutscenes. And that was in the GameCube era. Hell, that game was made at late GameCube era because it was also ported over to the Wii. And that's why its development, and that's why its release date got pushed back a year so that it could be ported over to the Wii. It took Zelda games so long to be able to have you be able to skip cutscenes, and you know, I really hate that. And so it's a good thing that you don't have to sit through cutscenes in this game, because it would decrease replayability. That's the reason why it's so good to me. It's got simplicity. It's kind of arcadey in that sense. The instant you start the game, you're instantly able to play the game. Oh god, my ears. And yeah, that was one of the most annoying bosses in the game. I hate the blue gomas. It's like, there's fireballs everywhere, right? And you can only block them when you're facing them. And you can only face in 4 directions. And you can only shoot an arrow at the Goma when you're facing him. And it wouldn't be so bad if it was like Minish Cap, where you could just hold down the bow button and walk left and right, and you'd still keep facing him. So you could dodge the fireballs and keep facing him. But no, it feels so tediously long and dragged out and cheap, because you have to be dodging stuff and shooting him at the same time, and you constantly get cheated out of hits because, oh, he closed his eye, so now I can't hit him. It's like, really? That item I just got was the magic key. And basically, you can probably see that the number next to the key counter is an A now. I guess there's I guess there was technological limitations that they couldn't put an infinity sign there. But basically now you have infinite keys. And again, if you spend all of your spare money on buying keys from the shops, then basically you wasted a lot of money, because again, it's not that hard to get keys. And you're gonna get a magic key later on. And granted, it comes so late in the game that it's too little too late, but it still immensely helps out with the final dungeon of the game. And it's just annoying that... Oh, I love the magic key, don't get me wrong, but it comes too late in the game, and you can buy keys in this game. So it feels like you wasted your money on all those keys you bought, when you should have been saving up money for the bomb upgrade. The bomb bag upgrade, rather. There's no actual upgrade to items in this game. Well, the magic rod technically has an upgrade, but I consider it more of a downgrade. I feel like it's a newbie trap, like it tricks you. The arrows continue to be just as useful against these guys as always. You can hear the bosses roaring from all the way in the room next to it. And even though it's an 8-bit sound, I still think that's pretty cool. One complaint that I have about the shops in this game that I forgot to mention is that you can only buy one item at once. Because right after that, all the other items disappear, and you have to walk out of the room and go back into it to buy something. Oh yeah, that's easily the worst translated hint in the entire game. Like, 10th enemy has the bomb. Well, thanks. I think this guy's called Leok. I think the first boss was called Aquamentus, and the ghosts that I called Pose earlier, they're actually called Guineas. You can't blame me for forgetting what they're called, because you don't really hear them being called Guineas ever again. I mean, I think Minish Cap calls them Guineas, but they're usually called Pose. Yeah. This dungeon is pretty difficult, but if you've already beaten the 7th dungeon, it's not really that different from it. Look! Did you see that? 1 death on the life counter. Well, death counter. It's so annoying that every time you start out the game, you have to go to the Great Fairy Fountain to heal up, because you always start out having only 3 hearts in your meter. It's like, really? And I don't think that's technological limitations. I'm pretty sure the NES was capable of remembering how many hearts you had. Hell, Zelda 2, the second game in the series, it started you out with full health every time you started the game. So I don't think the NES was... I don't think there's any justification for doing that. But yeah, it's annoying. The second quest has a dungeon entrance right there. And it also has you blow... It also has you use the recorder. Remember the area where you got the magical sword? Well, in the second quest, you would use the recorder, and that would make a gravestone vanish, and that would reveal a dungeon entrance, or something like that. It's been a really long time since I wandered around the second quest, and I never actually beat it. I think I just wandered around it for curiosity's sake. The cool thing about this game is that you can actually go straight to the second quest by giving yourself the name Zelda. Which is weird because that's probably what a lot of kids did. They just assumed for some stupid reason that Link was called Zelda because that's the name of the franchise. So, it's like, a lot of kids probably got the second quest as their first experience with Zelda 1 because they called him Zelda and got a nasty surprise. I guess it's a good enough punishment. Wind Waker also has a second quest, and it does basically the same thing. You name your character Zelda, and you go straight to the second quest. I hate going to Spectacle Rock. I hate going to this dungeon because I always get hopelessly lost trying to get there, because I don't go around Death Mountain very often. Well, next up is the worst dungeon in the game. See you then.